Good morning, children. This is Amrita Banerjee once again. Now, children, in this video, we will be discussing with the further topics of our chapter number 1, that is computer stories. So, let us continue. So, children, in the previous chapter, we have seen the classification of computer based on size. Okay, so now in this chapter, children, this video, we will be discussing about the common operations in all computers. There's few operations are there which is common in all computers, like taking input. Okay, so all the computers take input. Then we have a storage of data. All computers are used for storing data. Then all computers are used for processing data. Fine. Then we have next output information. Okay, so all the computers process data and then they give us the required output information. Now, and the final operation that we have, it is control of workflow. So children, these are the few operations which are common for all kinds of computer. Either it is mini computer or mainframe computer or any computer. So these 5 operations are common in all kinds of computer, children. Common for any kind of computer. So these are the basic operations which we have just now discussed in this slide. That is taking input, then storing of data, processing data, output information and control of workflow. Fine. So children, next we will be discussing about the block diagram. Okay, so children, like this is our input. Okay, then we have in between our CPU, and CPU has the parts, that is memory. Then we have control unit, and finally we have ALU. Okay, and in this side, children, we have the output. So this is the block diagram of the computer system. So how it works, some input is provided with the input devices like keyboard, isn't it, or some joystick or any kind of input device that helps in giving some sort of input to the system. Then CPU is the processing unit which processes. If it is a calculation stuff, it would be done by ALU, arithmetic and logical unit. Or if it is something else like printing purpose or some other requirement, then control unit will control that. Suppose some input has to be given, it has to be transferred some resources or anything, then this CU, control unit, will be working on it, and then finally the output device will be giving us the output on the monitor. Okay, or we can have some sound output, so it will be given by some speaker. Okay, so this way this is the block diagram of computer system. You want to look the more better and precise diagram, children, so this is your diagram which is given in your book. Okay, so this is the block diagram, children. Okay, so these are the few functions which are common for all kinds of computer. Now next topic we have, children, is the input units. So input units have few of the operations, children, which are common for all, as in, like we have already discussed that what input units will do. Input units are used for accepting instructions from user, isn't it? It accepts instructions from user. Then it converts the instructions into computer acceptable form, isn't it? Like our instruction would be in simple English, but computer is a machine. Computer will not be able to understand the instructions that we will give. So it has to be converted in the language which the computer can understand, children. Okay, so this is the first function. This is the second function. Then we will discuss the next function for the input. It also supplies the instructions. It supplies the instructions for processing, isn't it? It supplies instructions for processing. So children, suppose we have given 3 plus 2 to computer. Okay, so it has to be processed by ALU, isn't it? So that would be done by input device will give A plus B, and it will be transferred by CPU to ALU as to get the result 5 on the output device, isn't it? So it supplies the instructions for processing, children. So these are the different functions which are done by the input units, and the very common input units we are very much familiar with are the keyboard and the joystick, children. Okay, now the next topic which we have is, children, is our central processing unit, isn't it? Everyone is very much well aware about the central processing unit. So central processing unit, and this is called the brain of the computer, isn't it? This is the brain of computer. Now this central processing unit have two parts, children. First one, ALU. Okay, so ALU stands for arithmetic and logical unit. Then we have one more part, that is called CU, or the control unit. Okay, so children, arithmetic and logic unit, this is for the calculation purpose, like add, subtract, multiply, division, okay, and any logical operations. This is performed by ALU. Now this control unit, it controls the traffic, kind of like it is kind of a traffic controller for the computer system, children. Okay, so it is kind of traffic controller for computer system. This is the work of the control unit. It controls any kind of any input, okay, and it directs it to the proper path wherever it is required. Resource allocation, everything is done by this control unit, children. Okay, so this is the function of the control unit. Now the next part that we have in our computer system, that is the memory, children. Okay, now memory is the very important part of the computer, isn't it? So memory is usually used for storage of data, isn't it? It uses data for processing, isn't it? Then it is this memory is part of the CPU itself, children. Okay, but it holds a different section, as in, because memory is very important. Without memory, we will not be able to have any importance of the computer, isn't it? It is consisting of the memory to store data. Whatever work we do, it is all getting stored in computer. So memory plays a very important role, children. Okay, so after memory, children, the very next part that we have, it is the output unit. So in the screen you can see this monitor, printer. These are the basic output units, children. That means the one which gives us output. Okay, so the next topic that we have, it is output units. So children, the basic output devices are usually monitor. Then we just now saw the printer, isn't it? So these are used for giving the output. Now what are the functions of these output units, children? It accepts the result, isn't it? It accepts results by computer and gives it to us in form which is understandable by us, isn't it? If we get the output in computer language, we will not be able to understand, because computer language means it will be getting us the answers in form of binary bits, that is 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 0, 1, 1. If we get the answer this way, we will be able to understand? No. So it accepts the results by computer and gives us in form which is understandable, which we can understand. Okay. Then what is the next function? It converts the code which can be read by us. It converts the code result, okay, into form that we can read out. Okay, so this is one of the functions. Then third function we have, it supplies the converted result to the user. That means converted results to user. So these are few of the basic functions, children. Okay, so we have seen that output unit, it accepts the results from the computer and it gives it in the form which is understandable, because the computer language is of 0101 form. So it accepts the result, then it gives us in the form which is understandable, which we are able to understand. Okay, then next one, what is that? It converts the code in the form which we can read, isn't it? Like if we have the answer 5 and if the 5 is given in the form 101, we will not be able to understand because we are not understanding this, but we will be able to understand 5 for 3 plus 2, isn't it? So this form is done by our output units. Then it supplies the converted result to the user, and this supply of this 5 is also done by our computer output unit itself. Okay, so children, that's all for this chapter. Okay, so we are done with all the topics in this chapter, and this is the recap as in, okay, so these are all the points which we have already explained. So now children, we will be discussing the exercise of the chapter. Okay, so we are done with the chapter explanation. Okay.